Everybody, this is John. This is a Legends of Tabletop podcast. This is episode 16. We're interviewing John and Aaron from Portal Games, or Portal Dragon.
Yeah.
Ah, yeah, there's no editing, so this is going to run just like this.
Cut. Read it.
There's no redo. This is live. Hey, at least you can hear me, so that's good. I don't have Vince tonight. He's feeling a little under the weather, so we have Neil substituting in.
Huzzah.
Huzzah. So we want to thank John and Aaron for coming on tonight. How you guys doing?
Good. Doing pretty good.
We just had Aaron jump on as we were getting ready to run the intro, so I thought that was going to just totally be horrible. So we have you guys on tonight. You reached out on Twitter. We're looking for reviewers for your current Kickstarter, Pick the Lock. So we were lucky enough to get a copy of that, have a review up on the website. Tell us a little bit about it. How did you guys come up with the idea? How did that whole thing work out?
Well, all of our games we end up doing from our own kind of, I don't know what you want to call it, if it's our own coined or not, but it's our own kind of prototyping sessions. What we do is we sit down a night, we have game nights and stuff, we also have prototype nights. We sit down and we say, let's make a game tonight, and for good or bad, we make a game. And normally they're bad, but that's part of the process. And so this actually was one that was on one of the trips to. Is that right, Aaron? We were on the road.
Yeah, we were coming back from Gen Con actually.
Right. So we were in the car, stuck in the car. That's the best time to get some game design done when you can't go anywhere else. We do that on most of the trips we make around to different cons and stuff. And so in the car ride, we just were talking about. We normally set like some sort of theme of what sort of game we were doing, but this one was pretty wide open, and it spawned from a few other ideas that again were awful, and ended up landing on this one, and it just grew from there. And we really had a pretty well fleshed out prototype in the car. Well, I don't know if you'd say prototype. I basically on my tablet is where I do a lot of our artwork. Of course, I do artwork for all our games, and so I used my tablet I drew little pictures of cards, and I would move them around on different layers, and that's how we were, figuring out how we'd want the game kind of to work, and that's where that one kind of started. And then the next day, I sat down and made a lot of the artwork for the game, and we had a playable prototype the day after, and then just iterations after that, and we just kept it going.
Sweet. So how long from from concept stage to Kickstarter? Then you've only been about 3 months then?
Yep, about that.
Nice. How long till you were able to pull a working prototype? Like you said, just a couple of days after, or?
Yep, a couple of days after, pretty much. We were playing that Friday night. Afterwards, we were playing and pretty much went at it like really hard, going, this is a really like solid, simple little idea. Let's just see how far we can take this out, And so we focused really hard on that. Of course, we have another game, Zephyr. Winds of Change we're working on, and that's been one has had really deep thematic. Well, I don't know if I'd say really deep. In comparison, for sure, because Pick the Lock is a very light game, and Zephyr is very thematic and story-driven. And so it has a lot more artwork in it, a lot more depth and balance. I mean, Pick the Lock's a 54-card game, and a lot of those cards are, player cards, and so there's a few treasures with their powers, like 16, and so there wasn't as, nearly as much balance with it. So we would add treasures like, a couple a week and make sure that they're still balanced, and then send out to some people to blind play test, and it just all was clicking really well, and we've gotten some really good response for it. So we were like, well, why don't we just push this thing forward?
Mm-hmm. Oh, we've just lost Aaron there. Hopefully he'll be joining us back again.
Yeah, I don't know where he was, in some sort of stairwell to who knows where.
Lost us in the elevator, maybe.
Something like that.
It's definitely a fun game. It plays real quick. I mean, 15-minute to a half-hour game. That's right in my wheelhouse. Whether it's after dinner during school night, or somebody comes late to a D&D session or something like that, you can pull it out. play real quick.
Exactly.
So
That's exactly the idea we were going for there. Is that it might have been partially due to making a game that lasts a lot longer, coming out the coattails of Zephyr. Going. We've been playing with so many people, and it seems like we're saying almost no to some people where we're going. Hey, you want to come play our game? They're like, how long does it take? We're like, well, we're looking at like an hour and a half to 4 hours, and they're like, no, thank you. And so we had turned away so many people and stuff. And we love games of all different kinds, and we have those game nights too, where it's like you don't know when people are going to show up, and even when they say they're going to show up, they don't show up, and stuff like that, or life happens, So
Right.
having that quick little game that's also more accessible, too. We actually have a rule variant now that we're putting the polish on for kids to play, and so we actually play with. Erin has a daughter; she's 5. My son is also 5, and so both of them play. But what we do is we don't use the treasure powers, which can end up being a little bit complex to remember for them.
Sure.
So without that, though, and just working with the numbers and guessing within numbers, that's something that's extremely doable for even really young ages. And that's something we wanted to have was that level of accessibility. And we need. I don't know if we would say that we're lacking that in the industry or anything like that, but you always need another filler game. So it's nice to have, and at the price point, it's an easy pickup. $10 with free shipping. We hope that's a no-brainer, but we've been doing pretty good. I mean, the Kickstarter right now we're sitting at $7,900, and we only needed $1,000. So I mean that's always exciting to be able to say we're at 790% funded.
Right.
But then you have to tell people your goal, and then it's
Right.
not quite as impressive, but still, we're very excited about where we are with our Kickstarter.
And it funded, I think, just like in 2 or 3 days, right? I mean, you blew past that $1,000 pretty quick, if I recall.
We had it within the first 12 hours.
First 12 hours. Okay, yeah. I knew it was.
Yep.
I knew it was really fast. Are you surprised that it went that quick?
I was blown away. So it's our first Kickstarter, and so we picked the lock because it came up, and we were like, this is a good candidate to get our feet wet with Kickstarter. We were going to be taking a Zephyr to Kickstarter a little bit earlier in 2016, but we decided that Pick the Lock made a lot of sense to bring to Kickstarter earlier because it is such a simple game, to end up producing and stuff, and we wouldn't have to worry as much about like the logistics and the lead times and a lot of the stuff it takes not only to develop the game but to publish the game. So we wanted to get a lot of that experience and before we got into Zephyr with how it works with the Kickstarter animal, I guess. So that's working as we're using it to learn the ropes, kind of a thing. So and it's been going phenomenally. I mean, we have got some interesting response. I didn't expect the boxes to do nearly as well as they did, and those things sold out like right away. I think within the first 2 days they were all gone, and then we got on the phone with Dogmite right away, and we were like, we need some more boxes, some more ideas, because we made a commitment to people that only give certain amounts, and stuff. So they came up with another one, which is a phenomenal-looking box made of exotic, African pudok, or I don't know how you pronounce it, but it's a really beautiful box, and they do great work, and so they've been helpful with that. Which we're also doing some boxes for Zephyr too, so that should be exciting. We have a prototype, and but if you want to talk about Pick the Lock now, we can talk about other stuff later. This is your call, your show. So.
No, we'll meander all over. That may be all we talk about. Pick the Lock.
Okay.
Unless you have other stuff, the boxes are really nice. Dogmite does some really good stuff there. So shout out to those guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say that was one of those things where I looked and was like, whoa, that is a nice little incentive to go for those levels because they look gorgeous, and so I think it's one of those things where it's pretty awesome that you had some unexpected success with that, and I'm sure that helped.
Yeah, we actually met. we met Dogmite at Grand Con, and we found that they were really close to us. Like they're within, actually Aaron, who disappeared, he's my co-designer, or we're co-designers together. He works and he drives like it's like 5 minutes out of his way to work, you know. So of course we have day jobs, you know, and we wish we could do this full time. That's a plan in the future at some point, but we'll see where that goes. But right now it's on his way to work. You know, he's like a 5 minute detour, and he can go by and pick up prototypes or drop things off for them. And so, but we met them out in Grand Rapids, which is like 4 hours from where we live, and that was at Grand Con, they introduced us to Tom Vassell while we were there and stuff, and they've been great connection for us, and so we've been really thankful. And they're awesome to work with too. Like just incredible guys, and they'll bend over backwards, and you don't even have to ask. It's crazy.
That's cool. That's very cool. You just touch on Pick the Lock a little bit too. The art is relatively simple, but that style of the thief on the cards, it just tickles me. It's like a throwback to that 50s art style. I got a real kick out of it. And if you're gonna visualize those, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So the first thing I did when we were actually in the car, and I did the first thing I drew. I don't think I have a picture of it, otherwise I could share it. But was just a mask across the card, and I was like, we could do the logo where it'd just be like a little mask on there. And so I was thinking of doing it like very few colors, doing it very, very simple. And then that just really, the first thing that like came to mind was like, you know, that whole retro, like almost a Pink Panther kind of thing. And I'm still trying to place exactly what it is in my mind where it went. But there is a famous artist who did tons of posters in the 60s and animations that used you know, very few colors, using like 3 colors and one very prominent color, like with red and you know, very strong blues or something like that, and then like a black and white. And so that's what I decided to go with for it. And I think it's fit really well with it. It definitely gives it a different style, something that you don't see as often. And so that's another thing we were kind of going for with it, was to give that sort of a retro vibe, I guess, you know. And so I've heard some really good things, so yeah.
Yeah, the simplicity of it, I think, really pops. It makes it stand out for sure. Everything is so highly produced, and you know, with graphics, you know, with you know, Photoshop and stuff. Now you can do just about anything, so it does set it apart and really kind of make it stand out. I appreciate it.
Right.
It tickled me when I got them. I thought that's really cool. You said that you've been to a couple of cons here. Do you guys travel extensively? You know, showing off games and stuff. You just kind of stay local con, or how do you?
I stay pretty local. I mean, for the most part, I constantly am looking for new cons, but I normally stay within a couple hours drive. Gen Con's been our furthest. Wait, has it? No, that's wrong. Actually, I just got back from TeslaCon in Wisconsin, and that was about a 7-hour drive for me. And I went and did that by myself while Aaron was doing Yukon. That was closer, and so we split up and did 2 cons at once. But that's a steampunk convention, you know, and our other game, Zephyr, is like pure steampunk, so it fit really well into that style. So that went really well, and that's been the furthest we've driven, that Gen Con. And otherwise we've been, you know, focusing on, you know, local shops, local events, you know, smaller events. But even going to a lot of events like anime cons, and stuff actually have been really profitable for. Well, I don't know if I should say profitable because we're not there yet. But I guess it would say that they've been great for meeting people, because gamers still go to like Comic Cons. They still go to like anime cons, and if you're the only game presence there, then that's a phenomenal way to connect with people, because they're looking for that connection. So that's what we kind of ended up finding with some of those. So we focus on some smaller events a little bit more. We also have full-time jobs, so you know, taking time off has to be for like the big ticket guys. So it's a little bit harder to justify that for traveling far or having to take off a whole week or something like that. I mean, I'd love to be down at BGG-Con right now. I think that's still going on right now, right? But
yeah, I think it's all this week, right?
yeah, but sadly, don't get to do everything.
Mm-hmm. We have Aaron back. We can hear him shuffling around in the background there.
Hey guys, sorry about that.
No worries.
I lost connection there and then couldn't get back, so.
Nope, that's okay. We've just been chewing the fat a little bit. The nice thing, John, about the smaller conventions, we went to, Vince and I went to Necronomicon back in August, and the smaller cons, there's so much more personal interaction. Oh my God, I think Aaron is eating his microphone.
You fall down the stairs? Joke about that.
Yeah. No, but it's cool because everybody's really approachable, really accessible. Something like Gen Con where you could, a lot of people come and see what you have going on. At a smaller con like that, you can really get people in and really talk to them and
Right.
Have a lot more personal interaction than maybe you will at some of the bigger cons. I think maybe Aaron is driving.
I am driving. Sorry.
Nope.
All right.
Okay.
30. So that's the first problem.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to have that great of a connection.
No, it doesn't sound like. Well, we'll get him in where we can. So at what point? So all right. Let's range a little bit farther. How did you guys get into gaming?
I got all situated. Now I'm driving. So.
Okay. Yeah, you sound a lot better now.
Oh yeah, well, I got a headset on now, so we should be good. So sorry about that again.
Okay. Yeah, no worries. So how did you guys get into gaming in general? Like, you play Dungeons and Dragons growing up? What's your background?
Well, Dungeons and Dragons never really got me. I mean, I played it. I played it when I was too young. That was the issue. And we had our dungeon master was also too young for the role, so it was a bad experience. But as far as it goes with gaming and me, I mean, I've always been an avid video gamer. My family's also, though, as far as like tabletop gaming goes, we've always played card games and stuff like that. I think we lost my video here. Not sure what happened there, but yeah, we always played card games and board games here and there, but Monopoly would get violent and stuff like that. So we got away from some of the board games. There was the classic board games, and it wasn't until like Catan came around that we ended up getting our family more into the board gaming scene again. And my sister gave me a hard time because I was like, yeah, I want to play this game, Settlers of Catan, and this was, what, 6 years ago or something like that. And she's like, oh my goodness, I can't believe you, because she compares me to Sheldon from Big Bang Theory, and apparently there was an episode where they dealt with Settlers of Catan, and so earlier that week I'd also said how I want to buy a theremin, and so it just was, all the odds were stacked against me as far as that comparison. But anyways, so yeah, Settlers of Catan was a gateway drug for us, I guess, and then getting into more games and stuff. Like I've always been interested in a wide variety of games, but my gaming focuses around spending time with people, and my family is a big part of that. So when I say my family, my parents, who are my parents, my sister, my brother, and stuff like that. But I also have groups of friends who play tabletop games as well. But we float around from all sorts of games. Let's see, we played Damage Report the other day. Got Cacao, and quite quite a wide variety. I try and get them into a few heavier games, but they're not the first choice normally.
Right.
Got them to play Eclipse before, and they don't want to do it ever again because 6 hours is too much.
Yeah, you might as well play D&D at that point.
Yeah.
Well, that's Fantasy Flight makes beautiful games, but yeah, you're invested for 6 or 7 hours at a clip.
Sure. Yeah, I got him to play Dead of Winter the other day, and that was probably one of the better in-betweens for them, that it didn't take quite as long, it had a little bit of depth. The only issue was they all don't like zombies, so that's a bit of an issue.
Yeah, that won't work then. I don't know if Aaron muted himself, because I had muted because of the road noise, but now I can't get him back up, so I don't know where he's at. I hope I didn't block him out of the call. So what? Nope, there he is.
Hey. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't mute myself. Somehow I got muted though. So anyway, I was trying to butt in there, John, and say like, yeah, I always kind of grew up playing a lot of video games as well. But we like my family as well was really into games like Stratego and Monopoly. Or you guys remember Mastermind?
Yeah.
Yeah,
My
so
mom
like love
actually
those.
worked for Pressman Toys.
Oh, nice. Okay, so yeah, and so like we love games like that, Risk and stuff, and it was always super competitive. And I guess I never realized it, but once I got out and I was like dating and stuff, I'd go to play board games, and people were like, "Why are you so aggressive? Are you angry? Are you having fun? And I was like, no, I'm having a blast. Like, but apparently I was being too aggressive. And then I went and played a game with my brother, and we actually scared some people because they thought we were mad at each other, but we were just enjoying the game, of course. So I always like games like that. But then now I've been a lot more into cooperative games where I like playing with people and being able to kind of experience something together. And so I guess that's been my kick lately.
Right. Things like Pandemic and that sort of stuff.
Well, see, I don't know. Like Pandemic is not my favorite because I feel like one person ends up quarterbacking the whole game. So I like to try to find games that have a little bit more autonomy, where everyone can kind of do their own thing, while still working together. So there's not that many games like that, and that's actually one of the things we were trying to do when we created the game we're working on, Zephyr, which is actually scheduled for Kickstarter in March. It's a cooperative game where hopefully everyone can have a great experience while being cooperative as well.
Right. Cool. Very cool. And did you ever play any kind of tabletop stuff, D&D or anything like that, or no?
I never played D&D, but I've always wanted to. So like I've actually went through and read a lot of like some of the books and stuff behind D&D and Pathfinder. I've actually sat watching streams for hours of people playing D&D. I just never have played myself, and I think that's because I've never been able to find someone who is a dungeon master, who could kind of lead us through it. I never had like a dungeon master in my group of friends, I guess. So like I kind of felt like D&D to me is perfect mix between, like, I love reading books and stories, and I love playing adventure style video games, and to me it's like a perfect mix. So I guess I just have to get to it one day.
Yeah, no, for sure. Could probably get you in on a game here.
Well, hey, I'd be down for that for sure.
Yeah, we'll have to. We'll have to take that offline. We'll have to see if we can work something out.
Well, thanks. I'd appreciate that.
Sure. Let me. John dropped out of the call here, so I'm trying to get him a new invite real quick. It's hard for me to multitask when I'm.
Oh no, it's good. You got a cat? You got a cat there?
I do. Yeah, she normally makes an appearance as we're doing
nice, nice.
We interviewed Adam Scott Clancy the other day, and it looked like his cat was trying to kill him while we were talking to him.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Let me see. I gotta pull up my questions here again. So John said you guys both have full-time jobs, so it's not a. This isn't a not a full-time paying gig, but still probably takes up just about a full-time,
Yeah, it does. It does. Yeah, we both have full-time jobs, full-time families. I actually have like a second consulting job. John has a second job as well, so we're pretty busy. But we kind of replaced. So I feel like I haven't played a video game or a board game that wasn't one we're working on in months. But
Right.
it's okay because it's a good release. I work in a creative field, but it's very controlled. You know what I mean? So I feel like it's a good creative release and a good way to waste time, I guess. My mindset the whole time has always been, even if this turns into nothing, at least we were able to create something we enjoyed and hopefully hopefully create something that other people can enjoy as well.
Well, judging by your Pick the Lock Kickstarter, you have a lot of people that are enjoying it. That's for sure.
Yeah, and we didn't know what to expect. It was our first time going to Kickstarter. I don't know how much John has covered, but we didn't know what to expect at all, and we were just pleasantly surprised, and are actually just blown away by people, the support we've had, the comments. It's been a really cool thing, and I would tell anyone, like a lot of people have some ideas out there. Well, sit down, get it on the table, get some artwork together, and give it a shot. You know what I mean? What's the worst that could happen? You can't be afraid of rejection. So that's all I can say is it's been a great experience, and anyone who has backed us, we just a big shout out and a thank you to you already. And if you could just keep sharing Pick the Lock, we'd really appreciate it.
Yeah, and it's nice too because the price point's not it's not $100 game, so it's it's easy for people to get in. At $7, I think if you pick it up at the store, $7 with free shipping. So it's it's a gateway to get people into your company there.
No, it is, and and we thought about a lot of different things. We're thinking, okay, what do we want to do for our first game? And we decided, first one to put on Kickstarter would be one that's going to be at a lower price point. It's going to be one that we there's not as many things that can go wrong in the production process because it's just a solely card-based game. We just wanted to be smart about it because it was our first time, getting in, and we wanted to make sure that we're going to be able to fulfill on time or early, and that we're going to be able to start building that community, before we, try to produce, kickstart a game that's going to cost $35 or $40 or $50,000.
Right.
And it's worked out so far, and we're just super excited.
So I guess that leads me to a question with.
Yeah.
I mean, right now you started with $1,000 was your target for a run. Based on what you have now, I mean it's almost $8,000 now. I looked a second ago. You're $96 away from hitting your last stretch goal, and we'll get to that later. I want to hear what that $10,000 stretch goal exclusive is. Since this success, do you think you're going to have to? I mean, are you significantly thinking like we got to bump up, how many we're going to make because there's a lot of interest here, or is everyone going to be able to get this? And,
that's always been something
we're going to run out.
That's always been something that we've been, looking at is at what points are we going to make orders of what type? Because I mean, of course, at certain points we get price breaks, and at certain points those price breaks can turn into upgrades for our backers and stuff. And at what points we're going to end up doing that. So I mean, that's a very, very fluid portion of this. And so we're constantly going back and forth with our manufacturer and interviewing other manufacturers as well to end up making sure that we're getting the best prices so we can make the best product. And it's a very fluid process. So we don't have any kind of concrete things. And like I was saying earlier, this is also something that we're getting used to. Being our first project and stuff. Though we have kind of our main printer that we're using right now, we're very satisfied with what they've been offering so far, and we don't have a reason yet to change with them. But that's, again, something that we always want to make sure we're doing the best we can for our customers.
Sure. And are you? So did you have to make all those contacts overseas, or are you printing here?
Well, we actually
States,
we are printing. It is technically being printed overseas. We're using what's the equivalent of a broker to end up handling that, and they end up doing a lot of the quality control for us, so that we don't have to be on the ground in China or anything like that. And this is a little bit different game for Pick the Lock. There, we don't need a lot of the bits. It's all just cards, and so it ends up being a little bit easier to figure out. And that's again one of the reasons why we chose this one first, as opposed to our other games effort, which I apologize I keep referring back to, but that's a big portion of what we're working on right now. That one has like clear cards and cubes and dice and punch boards, and it's got a ton of different stuff, and that's a whole nother logistical animal. And so the just cards ends up making it a little bit easier to deal with.
Sure.
But I can't promise what is exactly on that horizon right now, because quite honestly, we are still waiting to hear back from some of our last contacts on what it is we can do. I can tell you that one of the things that we're looking at doing, if not for the next one, then very soon, is a big box upgrade. Not upgrading to a big box, but doing looking at things. We've been looking at things like magnetic flap boxes, or a two-part box, or even tins. And so we're waiting on some of the final numbers for that, and hopefully we can do something really cool.
Sweet. Very cool.
Awesome, yeah.
Let's see. Well, since you guys both have your regular jobs and your second jobs, and then this job, at what point did you sit down and say, hey, you know what? Let's start our own company. Let's go for a third job and just completely fill up the plate.
Right. It's actually ends up being, this is like job number 4 for me, actually. I work for a cacao company that my mother started, and I work for a college that I worked at. I've been working there for over 10 years, and I also now work for a nonprofit and stuff. So I apparently just am a glutton for punishment. And Aaron actually just got off work at like 9, and so I mean his job ends up varying, and sometimes he ends up traveling with another company doing filming, and so yeah, we're busy guys, so we figured, hey, why not take something out? But honestly, we've been talking about doing this for quite some time, and this is more of the dream job. We do a lot on the sides to, of course, take care of our families and stuff, and do what we can to, live that American dream, I guess. But this is our actual dream job. That is what we want to move into. Is doing something creative on our own, and being in control of our own projects and stuff like that. Both of us have skills that really help out projects like this. Like I said, Aaron does video and stuff, and he has a background doing. Well, I guess I can let him talk about himself, but I'll talk about me. Of course, I do artwork and stuff, and I've worked a lot of different types of jobs, and so working with printers and stuff is nothing new for me. And that creative side, I really enjoy sharing that. And I'm always, I guess, beyond the artwork stuff, my personality is I like to problem solve, and that's really what game design is it's taking. You go, we want to experience this. What's the best way we can do that? And constantly making those little changes, that problem solving, and that's something I really enjoy, both from the initial design stuff and all the way through that development side, which is some of the harder parts of game design, or the game publishing, I guess you could say. Is the development end of it, because you have to go through iteration and iteration. You have to throw away work that you put hours and hours into, and that's heartbreaking. But at the same time, it's such a necessary part to the process. You have to constantly be looking at are we making this the best it can be, and so you have to be able to do that. If you can't throw away work that you've done, then you can't do game design. That's just the reality of it.
Sure.
Yep. I mean, I can honestly say we've probably thrown away. It's got to be close to 1,000 hours of work. Like it has to be between just putting a ton of time in and play testing and all that stuff, and then you for months, you will be going a certain way, and then all of a sudden, we'll have to kind of do a rehash of what we're working on because we find a problem or we find a better solution, I guess. And you know,
What we
so
do, we'll take our project and we have milestones, and each of the milestones that we end up setting for ourselves ends up including a reevaluation, and that reevaluation really comes back to our initial goal we set to be very strict, and it is what we want to accomplish with this game. And we have out of those milestones, we end up always looking at, okay, we're here, we got those things done, but are we doing the best that we can to accomplish that goal? And if we're not, we go, how can we? You know, and so how can we do that better? And there's a constant balance, you know, between the work and play side of things, both, I guess, in personal life, but more so in the game development, is the whole, you want the player to be enjoying themselves. You don't want to end up saying, okay, well, let's take 3 hours and set up this game, and then your turn's going to take 1 minute, and set up for the next turn is going to take 5, because that's not a game, that's work, and we're not paying you to. You have to pay for that experience, so that's backwards. So we definitely want everything in the game to be enjoyable, and that's a constant thing of, you know, there is a ton of analytics you have to kind of go through of what it is that the player's experiencing at different moments of the game, what is necessary, what is not. And it's sad to end up seeing mechanics that are really interesting and unique get thrown out the window because they're just taking a little bit too long in the broad scope of things. So we have almost like a library kind of going of things that we'd like to add to games in the future, of things that we removed from games that we are currently working on. And so that's part of our process, though. And like I was explaining earlier, that we go through our prototyping process, and we try to finish games, you know, to a prototype state that it's a playable prototype. And with that, we end up getting a lot of throwaway material, but it ends up becoming almost a, like I said, library that we can kind of pull from when you're doing another design in the future.
Right. Well, like they say, there's no bad idea, so you take it and you save it for later. And
yeah, I don't know. Aaron might disagree with you. I have some pretty bad ideas.
Yeah, John, you should express to them your great idea you had with the spinning wheel.
Are you kidding me? I'm not giving up that idea. Someone might steal it. We'll just say it involves loss of fingers, possibly. Someone would buy it. I know.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds interesting, potentially. So what's your overall design philosophy going into building games? Do you have a cogent plan for the company, like just overall your philosophy for gaming, or?
Well, we play a wide variety of games. So as far as like me and Aaron go, we don't have like a style we're fitting into. We're not like making war games, you know. We're not making just family games. We want to make games that we enjoy, and so that's all over the place. I mean, we've I don't know. We've done all sorts of depth of games, and I mean, we have kids too, so we enjoy playing games with our kids as well. So we're kind of all over the board. So I guess really, if we come down to any sort of code that we adhere to, is we just want to make enjoyable products, you know. So it's about fun. I tend to like a lot of theme in a game, but that's also because I'm the artist and I see what something can be, and so. But it's also fun. Like Pick the Lock is actually very light on the theme, but I want it to be very strong. Anyways, you know, with as far as strong artwork, and I think that does help when you're playing a game, and you know that's that initial attraction, you know, and that does a lot for a player. So yeah, I don't know. I guess that's what I would say. Aaron, you want to add something to that?
Well, I mean, like just in all of our discussions, you know, we definitely want to make games that are, of course, enjoyable, and I believe everyone, you know, would fall into that category. But we also want to make games that are accessible. You know, like anyone, you have your serious gamers, okay? And there's a lot of games on my game shelf that I will only get to play once a year. And it's not because it's not a great game. It's just because I can't, you know, get the people together to play these games. Because let's say my wife's sitting there and she brings her sisters over, and they're just not going to sit down to play, you know, certain games. So you know, from the beginning, we've always wanted to at least a portion of our games we want to be extremely accessible, where we feel like you can even make more in-depth games that that are easy to get into, at least. So hopefully, you might be able to use our games to introduce people to new mechanics, new styles of games. And then the last thing is just to make games that are that have a strong sense of clarity. So when you go into it, you know what I mean? You understand what you're getting into. You understand how to play, hopefully, and that's a constant struggle because as game designers, we've played our games hundreds and hundreds of times, so we know the ins and outs. We know the intricacies. We know the rules, backwards and forwards, and it's been eye-opening doing a lot of play testing where we let different people just take our rule book and try to play the game by themselves, and that's been eye-opening because they're like, okay, you missed the whole section here, and to us we're like, oh, because we know it, but we got to make sure that the consumer knows it as well, and so that's one of our big points of contention is to make sure that you have a good time when you're learning the game. It's not frustrating, as well. So.
Yeah, we've had too many of those games where it's like you cannot learn it unless you go watch the video, and that's rough. To end up being I spent $60 on this game and I can't even play it, on Christmas morning or whatever. So that's always sad. To come back actually to an earlier question that you had, it sort of fits with what we're talking about. You had asked how we kind of got started in this, and there's actually a bit of a story there. We had been talking a long time about different projects we wanted to do stuff together. Aaron and I have been really good friends, best friends, or whatever you want to call it, BFF. We've known each other for a long time. I mean, we were in each other's weddings, and our wives are best friends, and we're best friends. So we've known each other for quite a while, and so I mean we work. I want to say we work well together because at the same time I don't think that we are too concerned about the preserving the relationship, because that's a given, so when it comes down to it, if I think something needs one way and Aaron thinks another way, we're not too afraid of offending the other individual, which is a necessary part when you're talking about the experience of players and stuff like that can sometimes get a little more let's say passionate. That's something that's never been a concern for us, and it helps us to work well together. So anyways, we have been talking about doing some projects together, including game design, but I ended up actually having my house get flooded. We had our pipes burst, and my house got flooded, and I was living in a hotel, and I was currently working on other projects, digital projects, and I couldn't work on them because all my computers got taken away from me to get inspected and all that, whatever. Aaron, I was driving, and Aaron's like, let's do this. And so that weekend we got together and said, let's start this. So that's the first time we did our prototyping session. Got out the crayons and construction paper, and we do have an actual photo of that. Actually, maybe I can find that photo. But so we just kind of got together and we made our first version of actual Zephyr, and it was not pretty. But it was like it worked, and that was always the whole point when we sit down. We want something that works. It doesn't have to be amazing. We want it to work and see where we can take it from there. Can we make it better? Is it worth making it better? Did this give us another idea for something else? What we normally do in our prototyping sessions too is we normally set down a theme, and we end up each making a pitch off of that. So we'll say, okay, this week this is what we're going to do, and then we both come up with a pitch, and we vote on them. And we'll have some guests come join us every once in a while, and let them make some pitches too, and see how that goes. And that's always interesting to get other minds involved. But yeah, that's where it's kind of Zephyr came from, and where Pick the Lock came from too. And we got actually a lot of plans for the future, because both with Pick the Lock and Zephyr, as Aaron said, our goal is kind of accessibility. We want to end up creating an experience. Like my goal for Zephyr was I wanted a game with depth that my wife would play, and that was and I believe that's what Aaron felt too. Is that our wives love playing games, but we're just not going to get them to sit down and play certain ones. So we wanted something that was going to be sufficiently complex that you could have that depth of strategy, but end up being nice and accessible. So with Zephyr, we had a lot of familiar components and familiar mechanics that end up being all kind of meshed together to give that more of a little bit level a little bit heavier complexity to it. What's something we're doing with Pick the Lock is we're trying to end up making something that is accessible for a different, so we have it on a little lighter scale. So to bring non-gamers into the gamer world is what we're looking at in a game like this, because there's still so many people, and I'm just, I don't know, maybe it's that I've got my head buried in the gamer sand, and so I don't end up looking up that often to see people, but there's just so many people that you're like, oh man, you should play some board games with us, and they're like, oh, like Monopoly, and they're like, no, there is actually more than one game out there, and that's just what people think when you say board games. They're still thinking Parker Brothers and Milton Bradley, and not that there's anything wrong with those games, but there's just such a wide variety of games out there, and it's you go to BGG and you end up it's so daunting to end up seeing all these games. Actually, we have an event we're going to on Saturday, and there's two guys selling games, and almost the entirety of their list of games they're selling I've never heard of, and I watched a few other podcasts and stuff, and they start off their podcast starting with, oh, what game have you been playing lately? And it's like, there's so many I don't recognize. It's so funny to me that there's just such a wide variety out there, but it's still not as open for the public in a way, because just people don't know about it. Our industry is so word of mouth that it's still kind of having a slow growth. So some people I notice get worried about how many games we have and that there's too many out there to know. But I think with it's more of, you have to compare that with the amount of players we have. And so as the players grow, we also are going to need the quantity of games to grow. So, and that we are seeing a steady growth of individuals. I mean, just look at the numbers of members of BGG. It just keeps climbing. So I don't think it's the same people making new accounts. So we're always bringing new people into the industry, so we can always use more games.
No, that's for sure. Yeah, the days of Monopoly and Parcheesi are, all but done. The mechanics and stuff that games that are coming out now just are so far and away different, changed from that original, board game thought process. It's a really interesting time to get into gaming now, because there are so many different choices. The light games like Pick the Lock, the heavier games like Zephyr.
Those are good examples.
Yeah. The insanity of the Fantasy Flight games, where we were saying, it's like an hour and a half to set up, to play for 5 hours, and then clean up for an hour. It's, you can find a game to suit just about anybody's inclinations and proclivities now, for sure.
Yep.
Right.
One cool thing that I got into is in a lot of those games where I wasn't able to play some of the longer ones, I have found that a lot of companies have started making like iPad apps of their board games, and there's some that are actually really well done, like Agricola, and which is just you need like a 40-foot table to even set that game up, and games like Eclipse or even like Small World. I find that I'll sit and play against people or against even an AI opponent, and I can jump into a game, pause it, and come back later. So it's just a unique experience, and that's kind of how I do a lot of deciding what type of game I'm going to buy next, is because I can buy the app for a game like Agricola for $7 when Agricola itself is $100. You know what I mean? So I can get into it and test it out and see it, and that's a very unique thing that even though board games are supposed to get you away from the electronic devices, I think there's definitely a marriage you can have there, where you can utilize the board game and your mobile devices as well to experience board games.
Mm-hmm. No, for sure. Yeah, even with tabletop now, I mean, with the proliferation of iPads and smartphones and all that kind of stuff, you've got your dice roller apps, and you can do your character sheets, and there's so much technology that even with a pen and paper game that you can bring to the table.
Yep, and that's once again, like, so I mean, I don't know, maybe you guys went over this, and I'm sure your viewers know this, but could you just fill me in, I guess, like what are your guys' like go-to games? I'm assuming you do a lot of tabletop, but what's your go-to, I guess?
Neil, you want to go first?
Sure. Well, as far as some of that, I'm going to give the caveat of my go-to games versus what my guests end up wanting to be the go-to game, which is always Cards Against Humanity. So
okay, yeah.
I apologize that I do own all of them because it is funny, and I like to get people to go, they get outside the shell a little bit. But
Sure.
yeah, I mean, I play, tabletop every week and stuff like that. But board games. I think my favorite right now is probably Castles of Burgundy,
Nice.
which is, to me, it's a really well-made game. It does suffer from a few of the things that you are trying to eliminate a little bit. So like Puerto Rico kind of does a better job at allowing people a quicker turn, so you're kind of all doing something every round versus Castles of Burgundy. Your turn can take a while, and people are kind of just hanging out doing nothing in the meantime. So that's a little bit of a drawback. But I have Zombicide. I think that is a fun cooperative game. I dig that one. I really like Small World, but it is very difficult for me to convince people to play it because it takes a lot of setup. But I have a hell of a lot of fun playing it.
Oh, it's a great game. Yeah. Yeah.
And then probably the most notorious around the house, because I accidentally killed one of my former podcast buddies' wife's character on accident in oh crap, what is it? Oh, I'm blanking on the name. Cutthroat Caverns.
Okay.
Which is a fun game, and I accidentally played the card, and she died, and it was a whole thing. And I was like, I like that game because it's the co-opetition where you are kind of eventually trying to steal, points away from people, without having to, and you're still working together. Oh, and my last one I will mention, I really love Avalon, or as I call it, Yelling the Game. Because I don't know if you've ever played it, but it's basically
I have not, no.
It's basically like that old game Werewolf, where someone's a werewolf, except Avalon is basically you are King Arthur. Your one side is Camelot and the other side is Morgana's people, and basically the goal is to vote on quests, and the bad guys are trying to screw the vote over, and the good guys are trying to win the vote. Whoever wins, 3 out of 5, you win that. Your side wins. So there's a lot of double dealing and trying to convince people to do stuff, and convincing them that you're a good guy and you're actually not. And it ends up just everyone yelling random accusations at everyone else. So it's a fun time.
All right. Yeah, I do. The majority of the gaming that I do is tabletop. I'm on an actual play podcast with Dragon Fisters. We have some random games that we wind up running through Legends Tabletop. Every weekend, every Sunday, we go to dinner at my parents. We play Pinochle because I'm old.
I like it though. I like it.
So we do that. That's a lot of fun. I used to play when I was I don't know. I think my grandparents taught me how to play when I was like 13, and we played for years and years. And so we taught my brother how to play. I don't know. I guess last year maybe. So we've been playing a lot of that. I usually wind up co-opting my brother to play a lot of games and help me to play test / review games. So we've been playing Pick the Lock, Stack. That I kickstarted Stack when that was going on from Simple Design Publishing.
Nice.
Sun Tzu is a lot of fun. I like to play that. The traditional, chess and stuff like that. I still enjoy. All kinds of dice games. Zombie dice, Martian dice, Chupacabra, which I got for Christmas one year just because it was funny.
Nice.
Scott Hansen's Posse we kickstarted, which hasn't come through yet, but we've been playing the print and play. That's a lot of fun. So mostly light stuff, nothing real heavy. Hexagony, new game. They're based out of UK. That's a lot of fun. So a lot of 2-person stuff, maybe 3-player stuff, and mostly quick. If I'm gonna play a long game, I wanna be in a role playing game.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, that's probably about it for me right now. And then whatever winds up coming through the through the website for review and things like that, we'll wind up getting to that stuff.
And I'll throw in, I don't know if you guys have heard of, it's an RP, it's a, I guess I would call it a hybrid art. It's an RPG board game hybrid called Dread. I don't know if you've heard of it.
No.
I have not gotten to play it yet, but it's essentially a role-playing game, but instead of dice, you use Jenga to make your moves, and if the power falls when you're making your roll, quote unquote, you die. And so apparently it's a really fun. I haven't gotten to play it yet, but people have spoken very highly of it because, it's a hilarious mechanic, and it is very stressful apparently to be trying to not have the tower fall when you're trying to do some dumb thing against a monster or whatever. And I just thought that was a fun mechanic. It's an indie game that I've heard a lot of good things about, and I'll probably run that at some point. I just haven't got a chance yet.
But I think too, the crazier your action is, the more blocks you have to pull, right?
Yeah. There is some way of, that they designate risk versus reward and what you have to do to make it work. So, at some point, I guess it kind of is a disincentive to do crazy stuff. But then again, rolling a d20 and having to, get something crazy also is a disincentive, I guess.
You do something too crazy, and then you have to get 3 blocks from the same layer.
Yeah.
Yes, it takes a lot of skill.
So
right.
You're really fast.
Need a steady hand. It's not a drinking game.
It's interesting you mentioned Pinochle. Some we've actually been discussing lately, and don't worry, Aaron, I'm not going to go too crazy with what I share. But something we've been looking at is like I said, we wanted to pick the lock to be almost like a gateway game, where for like the lighter people that people don't even play games, trying to get them into some board gaming stuff. And that's something actually we've been looking at lately, and we're really excited about a project that's going to be coming up in the next year or so. That's going to be taking a game, not Pinochle, but a game like Pinochle, and trying to give it a new face and be geared towards even older individuals who are used to more dealing with playing cards and trying to bring them into more of the board gaming, or at least card gaming, tabletop gaming kind of world. Because I have like my grandparents, they play a game called May I, which is they've been playing that game for 50 years or longer and stuff, and so that's all we'll end up playing. And it's not that bad of a game. It's basically it's phase 10 with everyone moves through phases together. That's all it is. But it's been around forever. Anyways, and we know people who play Pinochle and Spades and all sorts of different games, and it's like they're still good games, but at the same time, we can do something to try and bring those gamers into our world a little bit more. And so that's something that we're looking at doing, and we're excited about that project that's coming up.
That can be a tough nut to crack.
Yeah.
My dad will play Pinochle, and we got him to play. He's really enjoying a game called Shenanigans by Kazam Games, which is actually here in Tucson, where I'm at.
Okay.
Or actually, he's up in Tempe, I believe. And he took to like a fish to water, and he loves it. But I'll bring some games over to my parents' house to play test it a little bit, and I'm like, just stand there and flip cards over. I don't care if you don't like it. We need another player. And he's just most new stuff. He's like, no, I'm not gonna.
Yeah, it's hard because if you do end up looking at it, like that's how my parents work too, and although they've been a little bit more open to things, but if I look at like my grandparents, they're not really that open to looking at new games. They've been playing this game and they enjoy it, and it's the same thing like the rest of technology. Is like, I've got a phone, it works. Why do I need a smartphone? So it's the same sort of thing, but at the same time, I think it's still worth a try. So. We're looking at that, and we definitely could have some potential for a little bit more mass market in that. So it could be cool. But we'll of course keep you posted, and you guys will probably get a copy of it.
Sweet.
You can try it out with your dad. So
yeah, we'll make him play it. We'll tie him down to the chair.
So Neil, you had mentioned that you were curious about some of the stretch goals that were coming up. And like I said, I can't give specifics on that, but I can share some exclusives with you guys of some of the artwork that we have coming up that I haven't shared yet. So I share my screen here. These are some of the cards that we have. So on the backs of the cards, they have all the different like thieves, and they're all the same. And so on the fronts of the cards now, where the numbers are, they've already got the art upgrade basically for the 4 sets. So is going to look something like this, and I'm going to have to kind of revamp them again. And when we hit this $8,000, which I know we're going to do, and the $8,000 one's going to be exciting. I can let's see if I can just drop it into the same window here. The $8,000 level, instead of having like one picture that is on every single front of the card, what we're going to do is we're going to have, let me see if I can find the sample I made up.
This will be lost on our audio only
Oh, I apologize,
podcast when this
guys.
releases, but for anybody who's going to watch on YouTube.
We'll make a sufficient oohs and ahs for you guys so you know that it's cool.
Yeah, I will say I love the aesthetics of the art for the Pick the Lock game. I love the kind of simplistic, old school, in film noir kind of just shadow art, which I think the ones you showed that had the individual cards, the ones that they're on the back, I love how that's each one's kind of a little different scene, and it just gives it a cohesive feel, and a definitely it sets it apart. It has a very defined aesthetic, which I think is just awesome. I like it because I like kind of simple, cool kind of throwback stuff, so I like that.
Definitely.
Yeah, so then when we get to the next level that we're sitting at, actually, instead of having just one picture, we're actually going to have, and this is a sample, this is what I worked up, actually, and I'm sorry, we're now showing some behind the scenes stuff. This is actually what I made up to show Aaron the idea before we added it as a stretch goal. And this is that the 5 cards you'll get in your player hand will actually make a whole scene. So they'll all connect to make one scene. And this was a quick sample that I did of that, but there'll be more in this sort of style where there'll be a little bit more depth to the scenes, and trying to incorporate the numbers in the scene would be fun too. And that's something I didn't take too far yet, but we're going to have to get to it very soon. So I'm excited about that.
Very cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think that's a cool idea.
All right. So I was going to ask if there was any new projects in the works. So we know that Zephyr will be coming out, kickstart that March next year.
Yep, it's actually March 4th, and that's another exclusive for you guys. We haven't announced that yet.
Ooh, there you go.
Oh, this is just exclusives all over.
You heard it here first, folks. Actually, yeah, I've only mentioned that to one other person, actually. Two, because we set our Board Game Geek ad campaign, and so they knew our thing too. So, yeah, but we're getting ready to announce that soon. We've been trying to hold off on a lot of our Zephyr news during the other campaign because, of course, we don't want to, split loyalties or anything like that. So we're trying to keep pretty focused on Pick the Lock. At this point, I'm working on artwork and stuff, and we're trying to market. But I mean, for the most part, we are still working on Zephyr stuff. That's just the reality of it. But we've got some plans for that coming up in December. Following the Pick the Lock campaign, we're actually going to be announcing a community-driven content site for Zephyr, so people can join a forum and actually be able to play Zephyr on a tabletop simulator if you join the moderator sessions that will be going on. If you're promoted to a moderator, you actually get a copy of it for Tabletop Simulator, so you can actually run those sessions. And then we're encouraging people to generate their own ideas for missions and assignments and crew members and all that sort of stuff, and submitting it to the site, and then of course in different expansions, and maybe even in the we're looking at some of the stretch goals, possibly including some of the content driven on the site, and of course we'll do some rewards and give credit to the people who design those specific assignments and stuff. Because one of the big things we want is a community. We don't just want to make a game and just throw it at people and walk away. We want to have in-depth community that we communicate with and stuff. So that's our goal, and so hopefully that will end up working out. That people will enjoy that sort of interaction.
I think so. We've been trying to do a similar thing here, which is just to get community involvement to kind of bring people together and
Sure.
move everybody along in the same direction. I think there's a larger buy-in when you're attentive in that sort of situation, to kind of bring people in and get all the feedback. I mean, you can send emails and people don't respond. You're like, well, whatever. And you're like, hey, we're going to take your ideas and we're going to, maybe put them in our game. How cool is that?
Right. Yep.
So that's very cool, and I think people will appreciate that sort of dynamic with the company, because then you get pull people in and you make them feel like they're a part of something larger, like they have a little bit of a stock in it. So.
Yeah, I mean, that's something we're looking at a lot of offerings like that. I mean, Zephyr, we actually have 275 opportunities for people to be in the game, everywhere from being like having your name on the bottom of the card, where you normally would have like card art credits.
Mm-hmm.
It would say like, like on a Magic card or something like that. It's a small print, but you're still there. It would say supported by, whatever the name of the supporter is. And that's something that's like a nothing thing for us,
right.
But it's a way to end up bringing more people in and feel like and be a part, of it, and so end up being, people who are supporting us and giving us money. They should be getting credit for that, and that's something that we want to end up giving back, in that way. We also have to where you can end up naming parts of the game, or you actually get a character. We have a meeting with you over Google Hangout or something like that. We discuss what your character should be like in the game, and I'll do a full color painting of you and put you in the game. And so we have a ton of opportunities for that in Zephyr. Sadly, we didn't really have that much for that in Pick the Lock, just because it's just a smaller, lighter game, and so personalization, there really wasn't much opportunity for. So that's a nice thing having, I mean, me as the artist being on the team, we have that available. We don't have to worry about like commissioning artists to do more artwork. We basically just make me go to it.
Right.
But at the same time, it's much easier because, of course, I'm invested in the project on multiple levels, and so it's a little bit easier if we end up having we see something that needs to be redone. We don't have to go, oh no, now we have to take a huge hit, or oh no, we have to push off that stretch goal. We just go, well, this is for our people, so let's do it.
Right. Very cool. Let's see. I think we're probably about wrapped up. Do you have anything in the works beyond Zephyr that you want to talk about, or
that we want to talk about? That's the thing. For the most part, we don't want to be really like guarded with things that we're working on, because of course we want people to to see them and stuff, but at the same time we have to be a little bit careful about when, because if we end up releasing an idea for a game and then we end up seeing we're not going to get to it for 4 years, then that has potential that someone could just pick it up and do it before us, and that's a concern. But for the most part, I don't think we have anything that we can actually talk about. Aaron, what do you think?
Well, I mean, we can kind of. I'm trying to think of like the best way to say it. So yeah, I can give you some genres, I guess. So we are looking at doing, like John said, a one where we kind of take a game people already know and kind of rework it. You know what I mean? That's one we're looking at. It's going to be available for. It should pull in a large group of people. It's going to be open to a ton of different players. So that's one we're working on. We're also working on a a deck building style game, but it's got a lot of uniqueness to it. I don't think you've seen anything like it out there, and so keep an eye out for that one. And then the last one that we style, I guess we've been working towards is we something that is going to be able to utilize a tablet as the centerpiece to the game, but not be the only thing. You know what I mean? It's going to be necessary, but not it. And trying to utilize that in a way that hasn't been done yet. So those are kind of the things, the teasers I can give you. So
sure, very cool, very cool. Suffice it to say, things are in the works.
They are definitely.
We have a long list of projects. I mean, like we said, we do these prototype sessions, and they always end up spurring ideas. So we have a long list of half-baked ideas that are slowly growing, and we basically have whatever inches its way to the top of the list, in excitement of each other, because it'll come back to we talk every day, me and Aaron, so we end up are on the phone. We both have long drives to work, so most days, both our drive to and from work, we're talking about ideas and stuff like that. So it'll end up being like, oh, remember that idea we had about this? Well, I had something new. I was thinking about that. And so that's a constant thing that we're always growing ideas. So if anything, we have too many ideas, for games. So I guess that's a good issue to have, but at the same time, it ends up being I constantly am wishing we had more time to work on the ideas that we do have in the works. But that's something that'll come with time, and hopefully people will really enjoy our games that we are producing, and that'll allow us to make even more games.
Cool, very cool. Neil, do you have any wrap up kind of stuff? Because we can get into the final 5 here.
I think that's great. I mean, my thing is just get those glutes. But no, I think it's right. I think both the games look interesting. I think it's pretty exciting to see how quickly Pick the Lock, people took to that, super quickly on your Kickstarter, and I have a feeling Zephyr will do the same. So I think that's pretty exciting, and I definitely hope you guys keep in touch and let us know how things are going, and we'll see what happens for that 10,000 goal, because you got quite a while left. I think you guys can make it.
Yeah, we can make it, I think.
Yeah, we should. Normally, we end up seeing statistically your Kickstarters end up picking up again near the end. So hopefully, we'll end up seeing some more support there, and we can end up getting some more stretch goals under our belt. We are doing actually something we didn't end up talking too much about. Was something that we really want to do with designing games, and the fact that we're a company that kind of dependent on Kickstarter, is we want to end up actually strengthening the relationship of Kickstarter and brick and mortar stores, because the industry is so word of mouth. It's like we need to reach people everywhere, and it's so sad what happens with Kickstarter and brick and mortar stores. Almost seem like they're at odds. But basically, it's a lot of stores. It's hard for them to end up tying up that much cash flow over the course of a 8-month period or more, depending on the game. And you typically don't get that great of discounts and stuff. And so something we've been working towards is the relationship we've been building with some of our stores that we have. We have 8 stores, I believe it is, that we have right now that are doing an in-store delivery. And we've worked out a unique kickback kind of thing with them. And so it ends up being actually literally no financial requirement on their end. And so that's something that we hope to end up figuring out a little bit more about how we can make that even better of a deal for them, because reaching people is what we need. We need to end up spreading the word and letting people know what it is that's even out there, and that's the reality for every single Kickstarter. Is the more people that know about it, the better you can do. So with the brick and mortar stores, I think that's something that more Kickstarters hopefully can take advantage of. So I hope that ends up working out. We're looking at adding a few more before the end. So of course, actually, if you guys have stores in your area that we can get in touch with too, we can do some local delivery stuff there, make it a little bit cheaper for people, but also end up helping those stores out as well.
Yeah, I was quite surprised to see Tucson Games and Gadgets, which is a relatively new store here in Tucson. So I was surprised and pleased that was
actually, and I think that might be, you guys did tell us about that when we called them. So Yeah, I went through and I asked a lot of our reviewers and supporters on Twitter and Facebook. I asked them if they had any shops nearby, and I contacted them to see, if they'd be interested in games and gadgets. Where they were ready, like right away. They were like, "Yeah, we're in." So that was cool.
And those are the kind of people that you want to work with too. People that are going to be into what you're doing,
Right.
to establish a relationship and, really kind of move everybody forward. So that's good. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, we're excited for a lot of the stuff we have on the horizon. Not only in game design, we also have some things that are coming down the pipe. Hopefully, after we get some more of our designs out, that hopefully we can end up giving back to the game community. And I'm sorry, I can't say too much about what it is that we have planned. But I guess what I can say is that we really want to end up providing some avenues for designers who are having a harder time publishing or getting a publisher or self-publishing, and trying to end up encouraging that, helping that process, I guess, through some of the things we're looking at offering.
Cool. Very cool. Anything that helps the community is a good thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, let's end on that note. There, we'll go into. So we have a thing we call the final five. It's 5 geeky, nerdy type questions here. We'll round out the interview with. I guess we'll start with on my screen. Aaron's all the way to the left, so we'll start with Aaron here. You can answer just yes or no. If you want to expound on your answer, that's fine too. So the first one is Star Trek or Star Wars?
It's got to be Star Wars.
Okay. You already excited for the new movies coming out?
I'm excited, but I'm wary. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I think they could be great. I think they're gonna sell, like, they're gonna make $10 trillion no matter what. So that's okay. But so I'm excited, but with some caution because, man, I feel like that's just something you can really mess up. So we'll see what they do. So.
Okay, John, you?
Well, if you ask a broad question like that, I mean, I would probably I would have to say Star Wars. If you got into more specifics and you want to compare episodes to series, or series, is that a word? I mean, I'd take Next Generation over the first 3 prequels, kind of a thing.
Oh,
but
take anything over those 3 prequels.
But that's the whole thing. I mean, if you could break it down to what you like, but I've been a Star Wars fan for for forever, and Star Trek is very broad now with all the different things they have. So percentage-wise, I probably would still say that I enjoy more Star Wars than I do Star Trek.
All right, man after my own heart. So more, I guess we probably know this one already, but tabletop or video games?
Honestly, I gotta say, like, I really enjoy a good video game. But I mean, like, my heart definitely right now is in tabletop gaming. But finding more and more ways to, I don't know that the gap has to be that big. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of games. Like, some of my favorite video games are really just like board games, like Final Fantasy Tactics. You know what I mean? And games like that. And on the same hand, some of my favorite board games is just me having physical control over similar stories that I see in video games. So I gotta go 50-50 on that. If I have a few minutes of free time, you'll find me playing League of Legends. I love them both.
Yeah. John, how about you?
Game.
I don't think he's done.
Oh, I'm done. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, I have a similar kind of answer. I mean, I love video games. I love tabletop. I do have to say though, my biggest thing with video games, I cannot sit down and play a video game by myself. That it takes a very specific game for me to do that. I always like to play with people, and that's really me in gaming all the time. And so you can't really trade that face-to-face gaming rather than the face to screen kind of a thing. So I mean, yeah, I probably would say tabletop is where it's at for me right now. Although you'll catch me on video games too. I mean, like Aaron said, I'll do a League of Legends or whatever else is coming around. I've not made the leap for Fallout yet because I don't think I have that amount of time to spend. You know, I know that's going to be a bottomless pit I might not be able to drag myself out of, so I haven't made the leap.
Yeah.
So that's where actually I sit with a lot of my game purchases. Is I'm like, can I commit the time that I know I will spend on this? And so I just have to say no at the door rather than try to get in a little bit. So.
Gotcha. Well, that makes sense. You don't be picking up Fallout 4
Actually,
while you're in the middle of a Kickstarter.
Actually,
Exactly.
to speak to something that Aaron was saying, too, we actually, one of our first things we were doing was with Zephyr was we said, how can we end up making what we love about video games, bringing that to the tabletop world, and so actually our Zephyr's battle mechanics actually do have lend themselves to a little bit more feeling like a little bit more live action-ish, and so yeah, I guess that's also maybe wanting to like marry game mechanics to theme as well, and video games you have to do that. That's just how video games work, and so I've always wanted to bring that into games more, and hopefully we end up accomplishing that.
Cool, very cool. You guys more of a fan of DC or Marvel?
I got to go Marvel. I mean, I do like Batman. He's a pretty cool guy. But in general, I mean, Marvel heroes, they're just so much better. Like, Superman's, way overpowered. I don't know, so I got to go Marvel. Marvel all the way.
Overpowered?
I mean, Hulk is, not my favorite either. So I don't know. Like, I like the more down to earth. I like the real heroes. You know what I mean? So I want to be able to feel like I could wake up one day and be, Bruce Wayne, you know what I mean, or Daredevil. I feel like that could happen one day, and so where I feel like I couldn't be the Hulk or Superman,
Bruce Wayne.
You never know. You never know.
You're shooting really low on that one. I'd be a millionaire.
No, I'm just saying. Like, I really appreciate those type of heroes and those type of stories, the ones that have a little more humanity to them. So anyway, I guess it's Marvel though. So
Thor, right?
Hey, you know what it is? It is okay. He can show up. Okay.
John, how about you?
Well, you're probably guessing from the hard time we're giving Aaron that I would say DC, but I would say actually this isn't even a question, that you shouldn't even be considering DC because I like Marvel so much. But everyone would say that Batman is misplaced, I think, is what's going on. It was an accident that he ended up in the wrong universe or something. But Marvel, I'm definitely Marvel. My favorite Marvel, it comes from X-Men is my favorite because I love teams, anything with a good team in it, and that's why I'm a big fan of Serenity, Firefly, because it ends up having a collection of characters that work well together, and you get to end up having the story of complementing personalities or contrasting personalities, and so that's really attracted me. My first love, I guess, as far as comic books was X-Men, and so. I don't really see that too much in the DC comics, and I don't know, I just didn't connect with them in that way. I mean, yeah, you can say Justice League, but I don't know, it doesn't stop. It doesn't do the same thing for me. So.
Sure. All right, we'll hit number 4, sci-fi or fantasy?
Oh, well, man, that's a tough one. How about a sci-fi fantasy? No. But I really enjoy. I mean, like right now, I guess I look at the time of my life right now. I think I'm more into sci-fi, I guess. I'm a huge fan of like the Ender's Game series. I don't know if you've read or the series. But it's got a ton of books into it. It's really, really great series, and following like miners in space and a bunch of different things as it goes on in the series. But there's definitely a place in my heart for. I used to be the biggest Lord of the Rings fan, so I don't know. I'm terrible at these questions. I like them both so much, So But right now, I guess I'd point at sci-fi though. So.
Okay. John, what do you got there?
Well, again, I feel like Aaron does. I mean, actually, Ender's Game, or the Ender's series, I guess you could say, Orson Scott Card's books and stuff, the only problem with it, it's a pretty big problem, is that there's not more. There just needs to be more. I don't think.
I agree.
Orson Scott Card should have called me and said, "Can I end this book yet?" And I would have said, "No, keep going." But no, yeah, I mean, I love. There's so much fantasy that I love, but I mean, I do have to say, I've been actually in a study, I guess, of sci-fi for the last like 10 years or so, where I've been trying to read. I've got 2 hours on the road every day, and so I end up having a lot of audiobooks I go through, and so. Actually, me and Aaron have been both going through the top 100 sci-fi novels and stuff, and trying to pull each other into the last one we read, or into reading one at the same time. And so there's definitely is I love bleed over those. When you get fantasy elements and sci-fi elements together, there's definitely that happens so much, and I really enjoy those. But I would probably end up saying, if I was to look through my movies I own, that will probably tell you sci-fi would be my answer. So.
Gotcha. Okay. And we'll wrap up with this one here. If you could have one superpower, what would it be?
It's got to be teleportation.
You stink, man. You stink.
It's okay. Listen, here we go. So it's better than flying. You know what I mean? Like, because you can just go where you want. You can get behind anything. You can get around anything. You can sneak attack anybody. It's just the best. You know what I mean? And plus, then you can like teleport and then use like a katana as well. So it's pretty much the best of all the powers. Exactly.
And no bugs in your teeth.
Well, I think that it's funny because I say the exact same answer. That's why I said he stinks, because he stole my answer. Nightcrawler is my all-time favorite Marvel character. Kurt Wagner. But I think it also might be, Aaron, that we spend so much time on the road right now. We would just say if we could teleport, we wouldn't have to worry about it.
Oh, seriously, I would give anything for that. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got an hour drive each way, and Aaron's an hour and a half, depending on traffic.
Yeah.
That's rough.
So teleport.
But John, you have to come up. You got
to come up with something different.
You have to pick a different power.
I have to get my secondary one.
Yes.
Why? Because you're gonna come over to my house and hug me and teleport us both to work? Is that what's happening?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Oh goodness. One superpower. I don't know, is there like a cheater answer? Like you can end up picking like the morph ability that could just be everything?
Nah, hey, whatever.
I don't know. I guess
the ability to control sea life.
That's the best one. That's the best one for sure.
I just picture the Family Guy episode. Leave her alone.
Oh my gosh, it's so funny.
There's 5 fish coming, man. You better watch out.
Oh gosh.
No, I probably would end up being, I guess, like I'd go like Professor X, mind control or something like that would be good.
Nice.
Okay. All right.
I guess also it ends up being that, what is the application? I mean, is the world in trouble? What do we got to do here? Or is it just me hanging out and I do telekinesis so I can get something out of the fridge?
Well, you wouldn't have to get up to get your beers. You wouldn't have to scoop the cat box anymore.
Right. Well, I would just end up. I just tell the cat to go outside with my mind.
That's true.
Making the dog go get my drink.
Mm-hmm. There you go. Well, no opposable thumbs.
Yeah, that's true.
He could go get it, but he'd make a mess.
Exactly.
All right. Well, that's all
I
I've
thought
got
you were
for you
gonna have
guys.
I thought you were gonna have a Kirk or Picard one, but I guess we did that with the Star Wars or Star Trek. And
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
you said
Um,
Kirk or Picard, I would say Malcolm Reynolds. So there.
just to be contrary.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you guys for coming on. I had a good time chatting with you. I want to also thank Neil for subbing on short notice tonight. Everybody should go to Kickstarter, look up Pick the Lock. It's a Portal Dragon. You search for either one of those. People can find you at, what's the web address?
PortalDragon.com.
PortalDragon.com. And you are also on the Twitter at?
The Portal Dragon.
There you go. Are you guys on Instagram as well?
Yep, it's Portal Dragon.
I sense a theme here.
Yeah. Yeah, we have a few of them. It's Facebook and Twitter are the Portal Dragon. We're on Instagram as Portal Dragon and Tumblr as the Portal Dragon, I believe. But all of that stuff also is on our website, portaldragon.com.
Sweet. So everybody should go there and check it out. Neil, you also have something to plug there?
I don't know. Do I?
I don't. You
Well,
can.
right now, I'd rather plug the play-by-post post that I put on the Legends of Tabletop forum because I want to run a game, and we've had precious few votes so far for what people would play. So go on the forum and go to the play-by-post section and let me know what people want me to run for them on the interwebs. And if you're in Tampa, you can check out Birds of a Feather Coffee Company, and that's birdscoffeecompany.com, and check out the coffee I roast if you so desire. And it should be available on the interwebs soon enough as well, as soon as I get my manufacturing license from the state. So I'm working on that.
Sweet. So you heard it here first.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Should go to the forums there. Neil is not quite busy enough, and he wants to run games for you, so you should go and check that out. You can hit our forums off the website. The address vexes me at the moment. I believe it might be legendsoftabletop.com/forums, possibly. You can also find us at legendsoftabletop.com. We're also on Twitter at legendstabletop. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Tumblr, Stitcher. We are now on iTunes. It's official. We've got that up there. You should go check that out. You name it, we're probably there. You just have to search for Legends of Tabletop. Again, I want to thank John and Aaron from Portal Dragon for coming on tonight and promoting their stuff.
Guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Kickstarter. Yep, check out Pick the Lock. It's the first of many games to be released here by the guys over there at Portal Dragon. So keep your eyes peeled for future products, and we will have them on again, I'm sure. And that was it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Alrighty. We will catch you guys next time.
Yeah, thanks.